What's up, guys? Tony Rican here, and I'm doing something a little bit different today. As you can tell, we're not in my kitchen, we're in my little brother's kitchen. He's gonna be cooking today, he's gonna be throwing down. What are we making, D?
So today, as in every other day I cook, I make one of two things: pork chops or steaks.
That's because you're Puerto Rican, right? We gotta have some pork chops.
Yeah, absolutely. So today what you guys are gonna get is the best steak. It's basically the same quality you're gonna get if you go to a Morton's or a Ruth's Chris or Mastro's or something like that. And you know what? This is awesome. I just stole his call sign.
There you go. So go ahead, D. Tell us what you got and what we're doing here.
So basically the first thing to cooking an amazing steak is go and get a ribeye, because it's going to be medium rare. Why is it going to be that way? Because that's the way the universe works, and that's how it's got to be. So the first step you got to do is go and get the right steaks. So when I get a ribeye, I go and get a bone-in, and the reason I get a bone-in ribeye is because the skin and the fat around the bone, or excuse me, the meat and the fat around the bone will cook a little bit slower, and there's just so much more flavor around there. The other thing you want to make sure of, this is a prime aged steak as well, is you want to make sure that there's a nice marbling and a lot of fat in there, because the fat is where the flavor's at. What I'm going to do first is go ahead and dry out the steak a little bit, and I'm going to get this excess water off of there. Excess water, a little bit of the extra blood. We'll go ahead and take those two off. Once I get those two off, my steak is ready for seasoning. And typically all you need for a steak to season it is pepper and salt. So the first thing I'm going to do is drop a little bit of olive oil on there. I go with the extra virgin olive oil for the steak season. Just a little bit on there. Go ahead and rub it all around. Make sure this guy gets nice and juicy. Oh man, it's getting crazy already. Neighbors are going to start showing up, asking me what time dinner's ready. And what I'm going to put on there again is a little sea salt. And then black pepper. Now I go with fresh ground of both, because it just tastes better. You get the nice chunks. When you get that sear on the steak, you start to get like a nice crunchiness, a nice spiciness in the salt and the pepper. Now while I'm doing this seasoning and getting everything kind of dried out, I'm going to go ahead and start to preheat my cast iron skillet. Why do I use the cast iron skillet? Because that's the only thing in my kitchen. I won't use anything else. No, I'm lying. I actually use a couple other things, but for any meat that I make, I'm only going to use the cast iron skillet. So I go ahead and throw a little bit of oil in there. Not a lot, because I'm not necessarily frying the steak, but I want a nice little coating of oil in the bottom. Now for cooking, the oil that I'm going to use is corn oil, as opposed to the olive oil for putting on the steak directly. And that's just because corn oil burns a little slower. It has a higher temperature before it starts smoking. Okay, next thing I'm going to do, it's a little cheap trick. I like to throw these little minced garlic right in the pan. So I'm going to put that in a second once I'm done seasoning here. Flip this guy over. Now we go with the salt and pepper on the other side as well. Oh, look at that big chunk of fat. This fat right here is called the cap. I don't know why it's called the cap, but it is. I saw that on YouTube somewhere else, so I'm going to use it. I'm just stealing it at this point. I like a ton of salt and pepper on my steak as well. Salt and pepper to taste, and then I go ahead and just kind of push it in there a little bit. And then the last piece is I make sure that this little fat around the outside gets all the rest of this juicy salt, pepper, oil mixture. Okay, so that's the prep work. As that pan's heating, you can just sit there and maybe watch some TV, have a little glass of wine or something, and we'll see you over by the stove. Okay, so I get the pan nice and warmed up. I'm over medium-high heat. This, when you make a steak, especially a nice ribeye that you want medium rare, you go ahead and make sure that the steak is kind of at room temperature. This cooks very quickly. I'm only going to cook the steak for about a total of 7 minutes. So you need the pan nice and hot when you get started.
Now I'm gonna say personally, I would have minced some fresh garlic. I don't half step it.
Oh yeah, I'm half stepping it all day. I don't mince the fresh garlic because I'm nothing if not super lazy. Alright, we get those guys in there. You see I got a little extra butter that's going to go on there just to kind of season it up and flavor this a little bit more. Once I get my garlic, starts to get a nice brown, tan brown, I'm going to go ahead and throw the steak on. Now I'm going to throw the steak in for 5 minutes on one side to get a super good sear on that side. And I'm going to put this fat cap right along the wall of the pan as well. So you see how the steak is right along the side, and then I'm positioning the pan so the flame is directly under the bottom of the steak here. I'm going to go ahead and take some time as well, throw those little guys on the top. So again, this is going to sit here 5 minutes. I won't touch it, I won't look at it. The only thing I'm going to do is throw some of this butter in the pan after I get to about 2 minutes left. So 3 minutes in, that butter is going in the pan. Before I put this guy over, I'm going to take this time and I'm going to throw it into this fat and oil mix. Ooh, it's getting exciting. If you don't want to make a huge mess, you can use a little screen here that I have sitting over on the side that I haven't used, because I'll try to trick somebody else into cleaning this kitchen up when I'm done. Go ahead and flip this, and then I'm going to cook it for another 3 minutes on the other side. Oh, look at that sear right there. And go ahead and push this fat up against the side again. Take your time, put it back on top. Okay, so once we're done cooking that side, we're going to go ahead and turn this flame off. Actually, I'm going to do something else in a second, but I'm going to put this flame on low. Then I'm going to take the steak, and I'm going to hold it right on this fat. Just to get a little more sear on the fat, make it nice and crunchy right there. I'm going to hold this down on that fat for, 30 to 45 seconds. Just because I like when that fat has a nice little crunchiness to the outside of it. But I can already tell this bad boy's coming out perfect. Hold that there for a little bit longer. Now, how to tell if your steak is medium rare is you go ahead and squeeze it, and if it's nice and fluffy like that, I don't know the scientific term for fluffy, but if you squeeze it and it's not stiff at all, that's how you know it's going to be cooked to perfection. Alright. Blast some of this fat a little bit more. Okay. Now it's ready to come off the stove. The thing to know about steaks is that you never cut them right after you're done cooking them. So this bad boy just got done cooking. I'm going to go ahead and let this sit for 5 minutes right off to the side here. So let the steak sit. It's still cooking right now. The inside's still cooking a little bit. All the juices are getting stuck in there. So since I am, I really don't eat carbs ever. I try to avoid them as much as I can. I went ahead and prepared just some little veggies here. I have some asparagus and some Thai peppers that I put in some garlic salt. Then I'm just going to go ahead and throw into here and let them cook for the rest of the time while the steak is cooling down. Oh, I almost forgot. Ooh, score one for me. I have these onions that I put in cinnamon sugar, which is the best thing ever. Boom. Now, if you don't eat onions without anything else, you guys are missing out. Onions and cinnamon sugar is amazing. I was gonna say this is awesome again, but I don't want to keep stealing it. So I had the veggies on for 4 of the 5 minutes that my steak was sitting here cooling down and just bringing itself to perfection. I threw the veggies on over here, and now it's time to cut this bad boy up. And this is probably, I mean, my mouth is watering right now thinking about how tasty this steak is going to be as I go ahead and cut it. When I cut these, I tend to leave the fat on there as I'm cutting through it instead of slicing it all off. So let's go ahead and start digging into this thing. Now when I cut it, I go across the grain as well. Keep some of that juice in there. Some other words that other YouTube people taught me that I forgot at this point. Otherwise, I'd say them back to you right now. Something about the fibers and the juiciness and the tenderness in there. But you can see how juicy this steak is right now. How it's just falling apart. How much, I mean, just juice is just falling off of this guy. And I'll tell you what, this right here is the single best part about the whole steak. I'm stealing it again. This is awesome. This thing is perfect. So here goes a beautiful ribeye steak, medium rare. Tony Rican, you want to come in here and taste this bad boy?
Let's go ahead and grab a little bit of this and just dig right. See, that's how you gotta do. Dig right in.
Dig right in, okay.
You know what though? We need something to drink with this.
So what do you drink when you have it? I'm going to go ahead and do a nice little red blend right here. Cabernets, Merlots, red blends work perfect with steak. Oh man, that thing is great. You get the little one here, I'll get the big one. Cheers, brother.
Salud.
And cheers to you guys as well.
So, if you guys want to see more of this, just me chilling with my brother, him cooking a little bit, let me know. Drop a comment. We'll see what happens. I'm having fun in 2020, just experimenting. We'll see you guys next time.